Aware that a win here will be difficult, as both Peugeot and the Formula 2 Citroëns could easily spring a surprise. Following his retirement in China, the Finn has seen his lead eroded by the following pack. The Charisma has not excelled on tarmac this year, but Mäkinen finished and picked up points in Corsica and Catalonia. In car with him. However, a consistent and faultless drive gave him a time of 58 minutes 9.9 seconds after stage 5.
Well, I'm not quite happy at the moment. It was some little problems beginning, and then second stage all the water came into the car from the water tank, and it was like a swimming pool.
Meanwhile, the Corolla of Didier Auriol set off to topple Mäkinen from the top of the leaderboard. Auriol knows that following the departure of Toyota from World Rally, he'll be starting again with a new manufacturer next year. Let's go aboard with him. Having won here in 1991 and 94, he is one of the most successful drivers in the San Remo Rally.
No big problems. Diddy had an interesting moment 4 kilometres from the end of stage 4. Diddy just commented that he looked up just to see trees going past. I guess it was quite an interesting moment, but the level is such, you know, the competition, that the drivers are just really absolutely on the very edge the entire time. It's fabulous.
And weather conditions could dramatically affect the rally. Dry conditions at the foot of the hills could change to rain and mist at the top. Huge gains and losses can result from the wrong tyre choice. Stage 2 was wet over the last 2 kilometres, and Auriol lost nearly 10 seconds on the Finn. He gradually eroded the gap, and by the end of stage 4 he was less than 2 seconds adrift. Carlos Sainz has never won in San Remo, a 4th last year, just 2 seconds behind McRae, would normally have left him confident of at least a podium finish. But the dark horses of the Peugeot and Citroëns would be in his mind. And like Auriol, Sainz lost time on stage 2. The power on turbocharged engines can be affected by altitude, and Sainz had complained about lack of performance on the hills. Like Auriol, Sainz knew this would be his last chance to win the series if they leave Toyota, because they have to now to find new drives. By the end of stage 4, he was marginally quicker than Mäkinen. Känkkönen could still see the possibility of a record 5th world title. 11 points behind Auriol and Sainz, he would need a good result to close the gap. The Subarus, with their Pirelli tyres, had proved they can win on gravel. But on tarmac, the performance has not been good. Dave Richards talking it through. However, the team were optimistic of success with the Subaru on such great form recently. It was clear from the beginning that the car could not get to grips with the twists and turns in the mountains, and Känkkönen progressively lost time, eventually finishing stage 4 nearly 1 minute behind Sainz. In the second Subaru, the only 2 points adrift from his teammate, Richard Burns. The Subaru was not handling well, Burns complaining that the setup was not sharp enough, but he managed to stay in touch with the leaders. He would find it tough to stay in the top 6. Colin McRae and Nicky Grist, with a reputation of all or nothing, come to San Remo knowing that the Focus has proved it can be quick. In car will go with the Flying Scotsman. Having set the fastest time on virtually every event this year, they've also had a number of retirements. Finishing in Italy will be their top priority. Despite needing adjustments to the anti-roll bar, the Focus was consistently fast and finished ahead of Sainz by 5 seconds. after the first 6 cars through. The top 4 looked like this. McRae led, followed by Sainz, Mäkinen and Oriol. The Peugeot of Francois Delacour was next on the road and could certainly upset the balance in the championship.
64 mètres droite à fond bref, 50 mètres droite à fond, 50 mètres gauche à fond bref, 100 mètres droite à fond long, dans 20 mètres, chaque commentaire en épingle.
But he had a 2-minute penalty hanging over his head.
After a couple of weeks, the judgment would be given by the appeal court of International Automobile Federation, and that Francois is in the rally.
And a reminder, of course, that was for riding a stage on a bicycle. Piero Lietti and the Pirelli Shod Seat was next out, but like his teammates Robbenpera and Gardemeister, dramatically lost touch with the leaders with understeer. They would be using the rally to prepare for their full season in 2000. In the second, Peugeot, Gilles Panizzi.
Droite 95 plus corde, dans gauche 90 bref. Droite à fond sur gauche à fond, corde. Droite à fond court, 80 mètres, droite 95 plus. 60 mètres, droite 95 et 30 et 20 mètres.
And believe it or not, he's enjoying that. He followed in his teammates' wheel tracks, even though regularly complaining about his brakes. He consistently beat Delacour's times. The Peugeots were proving dramatically quicker. The testing that the team had put in was paying off, but they would be robbing championship points from the series leaders. Panizzi finished stage 4 ahead. Following a 5-day test in Italy, Skoda started with some confidence. However, Armin Schwartz has not contested the rally since 1994. The Citroën of Filip Bogalski was out next. He had proved earlier in the year he could win the lightweight Formula 2 cars quicker on the dry tarmac. He was 3rd overall. The 2-wheel drive Citroëns passing the 4-wheel drive Skoda. The 3rd Peugeot of Marcus Gronholm was straight into the top 3. That we'll see coming up in just a moment. And the top 4, Panizzi, Delacour, Bogalski and Gronholm. In Formula 2, Alistair McRae will be looking to gain experience for his attempt on the WRC title next year. With his teammate Kenneth Eriksson, they were still hoping to beat Renault, who were 18 points ahead in the 2-litre Manufacturers' Championships. At the end of the leg, the leaderboard was as follows. Panizzi at the top, Delacour, Bogalski, Gronholm, Colin McRae in 5th place. 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, and he's forced to really try very hard indeed to follow the Peugeots in the first stage, or rather I should say the final stage of the day. He was really taking it right on the limit. 10 tenths, or maybe even a little bit more, but Sainz knows that he's got to push. He's in 6th position at the moment. And the Spaniard using literally all of the road, and he used the trees and the terrain as well, and the car down there. He was a little bit unlucky starting off where he did. He was very fortunate to come out unharmed. It was quite a big accident.
I thought it was going, this time I thought it's going to be a big one. That's all, hoping that it's stopping soon.
And when you saw the trees, were you happy to think?
I did not have time to see it. It was very fast.
It must say something, though, for the strength of the car that you can walk away from an accident which maybe 20 years ago you couldn't have done.
Yeah, I must say the car took it very well. It's a few big impacts. We got big trees, but the car seems to be quite strong.
That accident was a really big disappointment for Carlos Sainz in the World Championship chase. He was third, 10 points behind Tommi Mäkinen and Didier Auriol.
For me, the championship, it was very difficult, so I have to push. I was pushing. Actually, I was going quite well, I think, but I never expect what's happened.
Well, on the fight for the World Championship title, Tommi Mäkinen and Didier Auriol had been head-to-head all day. Not for the victory, but for a place between third and seventh. Auriol with the Toyota. Now Tommi Mäkinen in action. Winner of the San Remo rally in '98. Last year he was leading after the first leg, and he's now not in such a comfortable position. This evening, Tommi Mäkinen, for him, is in a lowly 6th place. And the hills here are just about the only parts of the special stages that aren't followed by hordes of fans. But as he comes up to the top of them, they'll certainly be there as well. Didier Auriol, Mäkinen's current main rival for the title. Auriol didn't take a good place as well. He's one behind Mäkinen in 7th this evening. Last year he was 3rd after the first leg. But the margin between the two guys is, well, blink and you'd miss it. It's only 1.2 seconds. So Auriol not worried at the moment. He knows he's got 2 full days to go. Some classic corners on the special stages at San Remo. Some excellent places to watch. 1 or 2 places where the crowd aren't quite as well behaved as they are around there, and some rather astonishing places at times for cars to be parked. Let's hear from Didier Auriol.
Okay, I lose about 10 seconds this morning. Is the first day there's some complaining about the car, but now the car feel okay. So it's mean tomorrow it's a very long day and very, very hard, and I think harder than today. So I think tomorrow it's another business.
Well, there is work to do for the mechanics, and I think as well as Didier Auriol, Tommi Mäkinen will feel that changes will now need to be made for the second leg.
We've been playing a little bit with car setting. We made some mistake with right height setting, and I haven't been very happy for the car setting. I'm sure we can make it better for tomorrow, but still I tried to do my best what I could, and I wasn't, of course I follow all the others, but I try to go flat.
Well, Scotland's Colin McRae is 5th tonight. He's been 4th on this special stage 6. He has to score some points soon. In the last 5 WRC events, well, he hasn't done so. Classic McRae and Nicky Gris style, really going for it all the time. As I say, 4th quickest he will end up on this special stage 6, the final of the first leg in San Remo. And of course, tomorrow of round 12, the San Remo rally in Italy. First will be this man, Francois Delacour, but of course, he has to face yet the FIA stewards' inquiry in 2 weeks' time to decide whether he could be disqualified from the rally. As we said earlier, his problem being that he rode one of the special stages on a bicycle. It'll be very interesting to see what the findings of the FIA will be of that, but at the end of the first day, he puts himself on top of the pile. Yesterday is an old story now. I think we are very concentrated for the rally. For Peugeot, it's euphoria. It's so rare to get 3 cars leading in a World Rally Championship event. It is something that is extra special.
top 3 quoi.
Gilles Panizzi was leading since the special stage 3 and he lost the first place. He finished 5th of the final stage. Tonight he's 2nd.
Personne n'est à l'abri d'une panne, mais pour l'instant on a 3 voitures qui sont les mieux placées possibles, sans aucune alerte apparente.
Provera says nobody is sure to break down, but at the moment we are at the best place without alarm. We'll see how long we can stay in this situation. Imagine 1, 2, 3 on Wednesday at San Remo. It seems too fantastic to be realistic. I don't wait for that, but for the moment we are 1, 2, 3, first, second, third.
What we have done respect Corsica, we have had time to work a bit more on all the different components. So the car is a bit more setting up in suspensions, in differential, and I think this is the main difference respect Corsica. We haven't changed anything drastically on the car. It's just the way of setting the car.
So a delighted Peugeot team at the end of the first leg. We can have a look at that classification now. Just look at it. Delacour, Panizzi and Gronholm. Then Bogalski with the Citroën Xara. Car of some discussion. Colin McRae with the Ford Focus in there. Richard Burns in 8th. Didier Auriol. And the news in, if you just joined us on British Eurosport, that Toyota, yes, they're leaving the World Rally Championship to concentrate on Formula 1. And this man determined, Tommy Mäkinen. San Remo is an asphalt event, the 4th and last after Monte Carlo, Catalunya and Corsica. All the other events are on gravel. That's why it's necessary for the team to set a car version asphalt.
Sur les routes asphalte, on trouve beaucoup plus d'adhérence que l'on a normalement.
On asphalt, we need a lot of grip, so we have to alter the suspension. Consequently, the cars are much closer to the road and the suspension limits the roll. The main difference is the tyre and the size of the wheel. They use bigger wheels on tarmac to lower the car.
Également, la suspension est durcie pour diminuer
the cars brake harder on asphalt.
En fonction de l'adhérence.
We use a different size disc and different pistons. They made one big development to cool the discs.
La suspension va être modifiée pour avoir une voiture beaucoup plus basse et beaucoup plus dure qu'une voiture terre pour avoir un bon contrôle.
There's the disc you see. We have to work on that, and that is starting to work very well for us. It is a good development for the car. But it is something that we have yet to make certain is absolutely right. More work to do on the car. And don't forget, tomorrow we'll have stage 2, and then the following day, stage 3. So after leg 1, it's the Peugeots that clearly dominate. Can there be any answer to that? It doesn't look likely. Bogalski expects to go quicker on leg 2. Can the Toyotas start coming through? What can McRae and Grist do with the Ford Focus? Burns and Reed are back in 8th place. Mäkinen lies in 6th. End of the first leg. Delacour, Panizzi, Gronholm, Peugeot, Bogalski with the Citroën, then McRae in 5th, Mäkinen in 6th, Auriol in 7th, Burns in 8th, and 2 very hard days to go. Don't forget, it's back on British Eurosport for the next 2 nights. From me, Tony Delahunty, good night.
6, Carlos has stopped there. I'd like you to pick up Carlos and Lewis, bring them back. Okay. Thanks, Adso, that's great.
However, the drama started after they had left the car in the hands of 2 marshals, who were soon overrun by locals who ransacked the car. They took the onboard camera, the radios, the mobile phones, the seat belts, even the windscreen wipers. And they were actually caught trying to lever the steering wheel off with a broken tree when the mechanics turned up. What monkeys are out there? Therefore, leading after day one and 6 stages in Italy was François Delacour, ahead of his teammate Gilles Panizzi.
Pour droite à fond, 100 mètres, gauche 90.
The surprise of day one was Marcus Grönholm in the third 2:06. Remember that only 2 cars can score from each manufacturer. A long day in the car today with a total mileage of 441 miles, including 103 of special stages. There's your running order for day 2. The finishing positions from day 1, of course. Leading F2 car in 4th position, a Frenchman, Philippe Begalski. Well, Delacour was caught cycling on a stage before the event and had a 2-minute penalty imposed, but after precise reading of the rule book by the team's lawyer, it was nullified. The 2:06s set the fastest time on every stage during day 1 and on day 2 for the first 2 tests. Delacour was fastest on the 30-kilometre first stage, and he extended his lead. He had a transmission problem, and although he had it fixed, he was blindingly fast, extending that precious lead.
I have a gearbox problem, you know, like Marcus, and at the moment they are trying to change the gearbox, and we don't know if we will get a penalty or not.
His teammate Gilles Panizzi went for a wrong tyre choice on the first 2 stages today, and really did pay for it. The car was clearly extremely difficult to drive. At the end of special stage 10, half of the allocated stages today, Panizzi was second. Former Finnish champion Marcus Grönholm went well to start with, easily holding 3rd overall, but then went off in 2 separate stages. First, he rolled, and then he hit a wall when, I quote, he forgot to turn on a double right. He ended up 9th overall after day 2.
We had a problem with gearbox. We have to change it now, so it will be difficult to do it in 20 minutes, but I hope they will manage it.
Begalski, the winner in Catalonia and on Corsica, confirmed that the F2 cars are still a force to be reckoned with against the 4-wheel drives. He was 4th after day 1, but ran into chronic gearbox problems on the first stage today. With teammate Jesus Puras out on day 1, it was a case of the 2-wheel drive cars having to remember the Citroen's victories earlier in the year as Begalski waned to 10th, 3¼ minutes back after stage 10. That was the 4th test today. 8 stages in total. And don't they just still sound so wonderful? So, with the leading 4 through, after half of the allocated stages today, we go to Colin McRae. And the Ford Focus is significantly different from the Corsica car with all of its suspension changed. The ride height has changed, the front brakes are new, with the new monoblock calipers that are more stable and give less flex than the side-mounted ones. But it mattered little when water leaked from the cylinder head into the spark plug holes, causing a misfire on 2 cylinders. Poor old Colin McRae, he lost over 4 minutes with that engine problem.
there's been a water leak into the on the cylinder head into the plug holes. We've tried to address it as best we know how. We've also sealed off the plug in relation to the coil top ignitions, and we'll just really have to see what the next two stages.
Having fixed the engine problem, he promptly posted the quickest time on stage 9, only for a tyre to roll off the rim on stage 10. He was trailing a long, long way behind the leaders. 10 minutes back. Reigning world champion and joint leader of the World Championship with Oriol was Tommi Mäkinen. After stage 10, Mäkinen had risen to 3rd after the demise of Marcus Gronholm, but was still 50 seconds behind the leader Delacour.
Lyhyt oikein nopea plus vähän hiekkaa. 2. Lyhyt oikein nopea, heti pitkä paha vase auki. 6.
He was certainly not out of the equation. Mäkinen's main championship rival, Didier Oriol, punctured on stage 7, losing 30 seconds. So could that give the balance to Tommy? Tommy was certainly trying as he sped through the villages. Well, with their first win in 14 months, clinched in the rain of China last time out, Toyota have, of course, confirmed that what was the worst secret of '99 yesterday with the official announcement that they are to withdraw from the World Rally Championship from a works point of view anyway. Oriol was still charging. He had to keep in touch with Tommi Mäkinen at all costs.
Attention à voir, attention à voir, attention à voir. Gauche à fond de corde, rail gravier à voir. Sur léger droite, sur gauche à fond de corde, sur le down, sur attention gauche 5 plus corde, rail gravier humide.
Catching Mäkinen on stage 9, Oriol was worried that he was pushing so hard he would go off. He was within 30 seconds of the reigning world champion. The remaining outside contender for the World Championship was Richard Burns, and he was proving the Subaru was there.
Oh, sure, Richard's been driving exceptionally well, and Juha, he's had a few technical problems on his car, but nothing of great consequence. You can't take it away from the Peugeots, though. It's their event at the moment.
But Burns soon ran into transmission problems on the road section after this stage. The Achilles heel of the blue car rearing its ugly head once more when the electrics and hydraulics for the semi-automatic gearbox went haywire.
Exactly the same problem as we had on the road. Stuck in exactly the same problem as the road set.
An early bath for he and Robert Reed.
Drive before the stage, it caused us a little bit of problem in the stage. The gearbox was actually working okay, but it missed a couple of gears towards the end, and then just straight after the stage it came to a stop with no drive, and there's nothing we could do. We changed everything we could inside the car, and well, that's it really.
Emotions running high, and who can blame him? Andrea Aghini in the Italian Toyota has always been in the top 10 throughout this event, and after 4 stages today, he was up to 6th position overall, just over 2¼ minutes behind the leader. The Mitsubishi Rally Art squad had a 6-day test in Italy before the China Rally, whilst Freddie Loix also had a day testing at Myra. Loix is confirmed for 2000 alongside Tommi Mäkinen's Mega Bucks deal. But Loix came from 12th to 5th overall after 4 of the 8 stages today in Italy.
I surprised myself a little bit in the first kilometer of the stage. It was very slippery, went nearly off, and then for the rest of the 25 kilometer, I was still happy to be in the race, but not really in full attack anymore.
whilst others struggled with the scenery, the top four therefore looked like this with 4 stages to go. Things were not looking good for Alistair McRae, though.
Found out that Alice has gone off the road in the first stage of the day and just gone down the bank, and unfortunately can't get the car back on the road, so it looks like he's retired.
David Senior ran up the road to warn oncoming cars, but a Finnish crew promptly steamed around the blind bend and hit the beached Hyundai, extensively damaging it. There you have the top 6 with 4 stages to go today. Into stage 11 and 12 with Mäkinen 3rd, 27 seconds ahead of Oriol 4th, as they entered 30-kilometre and 7.3-kilometre long stages. Mäkinen had the advantage over the Frenchman on the longer first one, putting 5.4 seconds into the Toyota driver. And of course, remember that Mitsubishi are debuting their new rear active diff. It improves braking, making the car easier to drive. It optimizes setup for braking and cornering, and will be used on rallies Australia and Great Britain if all goes well. But the situation changed on the 7-kilometre stage afterwards, when Oriol then turned the tables on the 3-time world champion by gaining on the Mitsubishi. Something was amiss in the red car, with all due respect to the green, red and white Toyota. I put in a good time on the last stage. Tommy is really fast, but I still push hard to stay in contact with him.
Mais aller plus vite que lui, bon, c'est sûr, c'est pas possible. Mais je crois qu'il va très vite. On est tous très vite. Bon, on verra. Il faut continuer comme ça.
So through the 7-kilometre stage, Mäkinen caught the bad luck when he thought he had a loose wheel after he'd swapped the fronts in between the stages. Halfway through the stage, he felt something was wrong, thinking that either he had a puncture or he had not done the wheel nuts up tight enough. Actually, it was a bent wheel. He lost 22 seconds.
He had something wrong in right front corner. It was we changed tires after the first stage, and then we made some mistake. We didn't notice there was something wrong with the rim, and it was just very badly bent. But it looks, if you look quickly, it was nothing wrong, but it was just like a little bit flat. It was not round anymore.
Mäkinen disappointed, so Oriol was now within striking distance of 3rd position Tommi Mäkinen. But it was a false dawn after Mäkinen's bad luck in the greater scheme of things. A Subaru won here in 95, 96 and 97, but after the demise of Richard Burns earlier today, it was left to Kankkunen to fly the flag for the work Subaru camp. Even a new tarmac tyre developed after 20 days of testing didn't endear him towards a point-scoring place, with the Impreza's gearbox spitting all its oil out during the day. He was 9th after stage 12, and was even headed by a privateer All-Stars 98 spec Impreza, driven by 1997 Italian champion Andrea Dalla Via. The stages today have been a bit of a worry for the Peugeot squad at times, as this is their 4th event in the new 206 after Corsica, Greece and the Thousand Lakes. But the French squad are hugely experienced on tarmac, as their domestic championship contains no gravel events. Here on stage 11 and 12, Delacour eased off a little, but still held a snug 3-second advantage over his teammate and 1999 Monte Carlo flyer, Gilles Panizzi, with the pair of them having a healthy 47-second lead ahead of Mäkinen. I lost a little time. Maybe I didn't make a good tyre choice, but it's very, very hard when you're first with just a couple of seconds advantage. You can lose those seconds very, very quickly.
Are you surprised then still to be leading?
I'm happy to be leading, and I hope to lead this evening. But if we are second, it's not a great catastrophe.
pas non plus catastrophique de partir derrière Gilles demain pour avoir les intermédiaires, parce que avoir les temps intermédiaires derrière, ça aide énormément.
Brothers and former French champions, Gilles and Hervé Panizzi, finished 5th here last year in the two-wheel drive 306. This year, in the four-wheel drive car, they were equally, if not more, impressive. On stages 11 and 12, they were 4th and 3rd respectively, cautiously keeping in touch with Delacour, but not going so fast as to throw it off the road. They still stayed in that very comfortable second position, Peugeot 1 and 2. After curing his engine problems from this morning, Colin McRae was flying again, but running in 29th position overall. It was a case for he, Nicky Grist, and Malcolm Wilson's M Sport team of utilising the whole rally as a test session. Under the shadow of three-time world champion, Freddie Loix is beginning to get his confidence back after some big accidents and an injury this year. He was within 2 seconds of the stage winner McRae on stage 12 and within shouting distance of 4th placed Oriol with 2 stages to go on day 2 in San Remo. They do sound wonderful. Andrea Aghini, the reigning Italian champion in the Grifoni-run Corolla, continued to be the thorn in the works driver's side, but in the same breath, he would make a mess of some other stages. He was 6th with 2 stages to go on day 2. You can just see how difficult these stages are. Dust and narrow lanes indeed. Philippe Bigalski came into this event really as one of the favourites after having won in Catalonia and in Corsica. The lighter, more svelte two-wheel drive machines still sounded wonderful though. Bigalski was down into 11th position after special stage 12, 14 before the end of the day. When he got it all out of sync at the back, slipping the car over the edge. He rolled down a bank, landed on the driver's side on the road below, and the impact on that driver's side badly bruised Colin's arm, whilst Nicky Grist cut his hands whilst getting out of the car. The car, as you can see, was not a pretty sight. And of course it was the 6th non-finish from the last 6 events for the crew. Surely their luck just has to change. Therefore, it was 6th position at the end of the day for Andrea Aghini in the TTE built but Italian run Toyota Corolla. He was 2 minutes and 50 seconds off the leading car, but safe in that 6th position. And for a privateer, he was ahead of 6 manufacturers' cars. He was 9th here last year and is keen to score in front of his home fans. Freddie Loix is 5th overnight, but Oriol is 4th overnight on day 2 in the lone Toyota Works Corolla. He tries to steal an advantage on Tommy Mäkinen, even though the Corolla has got improved engine and transmission dynamics. Mäkinen, the winner here last year, 3rd overnight.
Too early to say anything. It can be. Everything can happen. It's not so. Australia is always difficult rally, and we'll see.
Suddenly it's looking as if you finish as you do at the moment, that the championship could be decided between you and Tommy in Australia.
Tout est possible. On verra bien.
Anything is possible, we'll see. From leading the rally at every turn today, Francois Delacour finished up in 2nd place at the close of day 2. He relatively toured through the final 23-kilometre test, some 20 seconds slower than the stage winner, Tommy Mäkinen. Was it a wheeze to let his teammate sweep the road a little tomorrow, with Delacour running in 2nd, or was it really a sensor on the diff not working properly? Well, there's the running order, with Panizzi being 1st on the road, and the weather forecast was raining. So falling leaves and greasy mud on the smooth tarmac would be a major, major factor. First victim of the day, Piero Liatti. And as you can hear, transmission failure was to blame. the winner here in 1996, and the second-placed man last year, is on for nil points this year.
In the start, I broken the rear diff, and then it's not possible to go in this long stage because the engine rear diff and then stop.
The cloud is hanging over the top of the mountain here, but still above us, the road is actually in.
At the start of special stage 15, the first today, Gio Panizzi suffered a puncture, and with the mousse failing to work inside the tyre, he lost a little time. Panizzi had to ease off, but that was to the detriment of his lead that was now looking very, very precarious. A spin could make all the difference in San Remo for Panizzi. Francois Delacour, his teammate, was still just 3 seconds behind in second place.
50 mètres. Gauche 100 à fond, 50 mètres. Droite 110 long, ferme 95. Puis gauche à fond.
Delacour had a gearbox problem on the first stage this morning that made him concentrate on preserving the gearbox rather than preserving the tyres. And what happened then? Well, he got a puncture. He lost 20 seconds, but was still ahead of Panizzi. His mood reflected the weather.
I had a problem at the end with the right tire, you know. The right tire is gone, and after I had puncture, and also I have a problem with the gearbox.
Delacour came out of service after the first stage this morning, intent on beating his teammate on special stage 16.
Heavy, permanently heavy.
The rain continued to fall, but cruelly, electrical failure would end Francois Delacour's rally. Tommy Mäkinen was sensing victory, but only the skill of a three-time world champion could drive at this pace in these conditions.
Pitkä kuopasen +7. Pitkä koikee +8.
Starting the day 20 seconds behind the Peugeots, he soon made that time up on the leaders.
Well, we are only 1.9 seconds behind of Panizzi, and of course I try to beat him, but of course I have to try to finish the stage as well.
So Panizzi leading, Tommy Mäkinen within 2 seconds of the lead in San Remo. Mäkinen gambled on intermediate tyres, and although he lost a little time in the third of the 4 stages today, it was not too great a loss. It would be down to the last stage of the rally for the win. Oriol would have to rise to the challenge in the Toyota.
Gauche à fond. Sur droite à fond. Sur gauche à fond, corde derrière, sur piège, gauche 5 plus mur, attention intérieur. Sur attention, 5 à voir, 5 à voir. Sur gauche à fond.
Oriol was 20 seconds back of Mäkinen in third. He had to do it, but he needed to pull all of the stops out.
The Peugeots now are not so far, and we can't leave Tommy winning like that. You know, he will have 7 more points than us, and it's impossible. Eh?
Oriol pulled time on Mäkinen in 16 and then changed to intermediate tyres.
Léger droite à fond, sur droite à fond arbre, sur gros piège. 50 mètres attention, droite 5 attention tour, sur attention épingle droite à l'arbre, gros piège.
It was to come down to the last stage of the rally for the battle for the lead and to see if Oriol could take second position away from the Peugeot of Gio Panizzi. Was it going to be 6 points or 4 points for the Frenchman? Find out after the break. Service Parks was working well.
vrij. Voor rechts dan wordt 75, rechts 70. Laat in. En 50, opgepast. Rechts 100, links sluit naar 100, om rechts 105. Links sluit naar 100, om rechts 105 en vrij.
He was 30 seconds ahead of Andrea Aghini, and he would be on course to bag some valuable points for Mitsubishi in the Manufacturers Series. Delacour's misfortune meant that Freddie Loix was now up into 4th position and on course for 3 points, as long as he saw the checkered flag there. Andrea Aghini used his local knowledge to the full and finished in 5th position. The Italian champion made use of that full knowledge and also made himself part of a very select few privateers who have scored points on rallies in '99. Simon Jean-Joseph was just 3 seconds off a points scoring place going into the last stage.
Gauche 62 long, œuvre. Donc droite 80. Donc gauche 75. Donc droite 75. Donc gauche à fond.
Were it not for a puncture on the first stage this morning, Jean-Joseph could have been further up the order, but he had a 4-time world champion in the shape of Juha Kankkunen ahead of him in 6th, who was also well fired up for that last point. Battle for 6th between Kankkunen in 6th and Jean-Joseph just behind Kankkunen in 7th. One more stage to go. Well, whilst Kankkunen was battling with the Ford of Jean-Joseph for that 6th spot in the pouring rain, it was going to be down to a tyre choice. He was going for cuts in intermediates.
Half an hour before it starts. If we have no more rain, then we'll be correct with this.
Well, let's just check what everybody else is.
Yeah. Well, that's the next thing.
Simon, Jean-Joseph is the critical one. Who's watching him? John Spillers.
Jerry Freeman and David Richards' deep conversation worked, and Kankkunen stayed ahead of Jean-Joseph to finish in 6th position, 14 seconds ahead of the Focus. It was close. Marcus Grönholm could only hope for retirements after dropping down into the midfield order after problems with his Peugeot and a couple of crashes. But the Finn had impressed on tarmac. Into the last stage, a 24-miler. Panizzi had a 1.8 second advantage over Mäkinen. The Peugeot driver just had to get it home, but Mäkinen had to go for the win. Mäkinen did the stage of his life this afternoon, and he won the stage streets ahead of his rivals. Oriol had no chance of beating Mäkinen's time, but couldn't quite find enough time on Panizzi. Mäkinen had done it, and the San Remo rally had proved to be one of the most thrilling ever. This win in San Remo for Mäkinen is his 19th WRC win, and his...
It was definitely hardest. I was first day we were 6th, and yesterday we make some good times, and then we had some we lost 20 seconds, and I thought now it's definitely impossible to beat them, and then today first stage today was so good. We beat so much these guys that makes it possible.
So Gilles Panizzi finishes in 2nd place, and although he was leading into that final stage, he's not disappointed.
Mettre une 206 sur la deuxième marche du podium. Je crois qu'on peut tous être très satisfaits de ce résultat. C'est vrai qu'on est resté longtemps en tête entre François et nous. C'est vrai que la première journée, il y avait... To
finish with the 206 on the podium, I'm very satisfied. It's true that we had the lead for a long time, but of course we're very satisfied about the potential of the car. The car is performing very well, but we need the experience. Tommy and his team have this experience. They know their car very well, and they take some risks, and some of their choices turn out good, but we need a little time. Oriol therefore finishes 3rd, but is he unhappy at losing 6 points to Mäkinen?
Not disappointed. I mean, it's a race. I think we did a very good race. I have really tried hard. Mäkinen has done also a fantastic race, and my only complaint was about the engine for this rally. I was not very happy by the power, but after that the car was fantastic.
So for Tommi Mäkinen, a win couldn't have come at a better time in his entire career, as he now has that advantage over Oriol, still on the table in Australia and Great Britain. Mäkinen won in Monte Carlo and Sweden at the start of the year, and a win in New Zealand during July lifted him. Even a non-finish in China 3 weeks ago still means he has finished 10 out of the 12 rallies this year.
I'm very confident at the moment. If everything works well, Australia has been always my famous event. I have won it many times, and I think our car at the moment it goes well in that kind of a condition. And then we have a RAC, which has been always very difficult for me, but this year I promise to try to win it.
Didier Oriol is now second in the championship, 6 points back of Mäkinen. The 1994 world champion has won just one rally this year against Mäkinen's 4, when the Frenchman was victorious in China. But it has been Oriol's consistency that has brought him to such a position in the table. The title could be decided in Australia.
You know, in rally we never know. Joachim Kunen is just 11 points behind me, and 2 victories, 20 points. And it's very easy to stop 2 races also. So I think it's still open.
Australia, is it better for you or better for Tommy, do you think?
No, we are very close. I go quite very well in Australia every year. Tommy also, Carlos also, Joachim Kunen also. So everything can happen.
Känkkönen has an outside chance of winning the title this year, but it is going to be down to a freak scenario of him winning both the remaining rallies and Mäkinen and Oriol not scoring at all. Having said that, Känkkönen will go well in those remaining events. Remember that he's already won in Argentina and in Finland this year. Britain's Richard Burns has lost his outside chance of the title here in San Remo when he retired on day 2. But he went well in Australia last year, and that was, of course, the rally before he was victorious on the Rally of Great Britain in Cheltenham.
It's always been a long shot, and it was never our goal, the Drivers' Championship with Richard. A top 3 position was our forecast at the beginning of the season. I still think Richard's going to achieve that at the end of the year, so I think we'll meet our targets.
Another person put out of the championship chase here in San Remo, Italy, was Carlos Sainz. He retired on day 1 after a monumental accident. He is rumoured, though, today to have signed for the Ford team for the year 2000 alongside Colin McRae. Sainz and Moya were uninjured in the accident, but he out of the title chase. That is why, at the end of the day, the 1999 World Championship will be between Tommi Mäkinen and Didier Oriol. There you see those 6 points splitting the Finn to the Frenchman, the Mitsubishi to the Toyota, the Lancer Evo 6 to the Corolla World Rally Car. How close can you get? Sainz non-scoring, Känkkönen sneaking a point, Burns and McRae non-scorers here in San Remo. Mäkinen on fighting form, his 4th win of 1999. Toyota nearly clinching the